Okay, y'all, let's go ahead and talk about folk art. Right now, we're going to be focusing on the Huichol or the Wixárika from deep Mexico by Zacatecas and Veracruz. Now, what I wanted to go ahead and talk about is their artwork. Folk art talks about artwork that is created by these indigenous artists or other artists from various cultures from around the world. It's talking about artwork that is tied with the cultures. Now, in this particular case, these are done with small beads. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, bring you guys in here so you guys can really look at the way that the designs are applied. Now, as you can see here, a couple of beads have gone ahead and popped off over the years, but you can see the wax deep inside of these spaces and the teeny tiny little beads that make up the designs. As we move further out, you'll also see that they focus on nature themes. Specifically, in this particular case, we have a deer, the sun, and a series of flowers. They also like to include lots of spirals and a transition from one color to the next. Now, these sorts of transitions are common regardless of what source you're looking at, of what material they're working with, whether they're doing this one or if they're doing the yarn art. They're focused on these transition from one color to the next across the color wheel. Now, when they create this division, they want to really divide the space. They will change from a warm color, as you see here, to a cool color that you see here. Now, they can fill with little smaller designs, and the point is that they have absolutely no space wasted on the surface of this shell. Now, on the other side, the underside, you can see where it was made right here. And the artist signed it right here. And this is the year that this one was made, was in 2004. Now I'm going to go ahead and move this one out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and talk about the next one. This one's a rooster. And again, you have very natural theme, plants, water, a couple of lunar faces right here, and these little diamond shapes, very geometric, lots of lines, and transition from dark to light. Even in the jewelry pieces, it does the same thing. If I flip it over, it goes from one color to the next across the color wheel. So you have red, orange, yellow, green, blue. So it continues all the way across. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing the yarn painting. But I wanted to go ahead and talk about what kind of yarn painting you can do. So remember, we're talking about different plants, animals, and other nature themes such as the sun and the moon. These were things that we talked about in class, and that's what I'm expecting from your artwork. Now, those of you that are in person, I have provided you with this, a piece of poster board. Mine is a little bit thicker because it's here at home and it's something that I had available to me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do different shapes and how to fill them in with the yarn in ways that'll make it a little bit easier for you. Now, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so like I said, I'm going to be showing you how to do different shapes and how to fill these shapes in. Now, I have provided you with Elmer's glue, and I have also provided you with the yarn, the poster board, and everything that you need for this project. So I expect you to follow along with these shapes and these designs and to get your project filled completely, just as you saw with the shell. So I'm going to go ahead and draw these shapes real quick. Now, obviously, these are not the most perfect of shapes. I'm going to go ahead and add Bob here because why not, right? Notice they're not super detailed. You want them to be very generic. You can fix them later. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my PVA glue. I'm going to be going ahead and using a tacky glue, but you can use the Elmer's glue. That works just fine. Why is this not opened? Guess I didn't open this one. And boop, now it is. It's open now. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to add a little bit of glue. Like I said, I'm using this tacky glue specifically because I want to be able to really grab on. One moment. Okay, that one seems to be empty. That's why it's not working. Be right back. I'm back. I got a new one. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of glue. I went ahead and just filled in this circle with a little bit of glue. I'm going to turn this just so you can see that I just filled the circle with the glue. You don't want a whole lot. Now, when you're filling in a circle, I'm going to go ahead and clean off my finger real quick because I don't want to have too much glue all over the yarn. When you get yarn, you're not going to grab the whole skein. Okay, this is what's called a skein. So you're not going to grab the whole thing. You don't really need all that much to fill a shape. So I'm going to go ahead and grab only maybe about this much. And I'm going to go ahead and cut off extra. But that's literally, this little bit right here should be more than enough to fill in this circle. I'm going to cut off this bit because it's a little bit wonky. I'm going to take that off. Okay, and for this one, you want to go ahead and start in the center and work your way around because it is a circle. It's the easiest way to fill it in and make sure you get your circle to the size that you want. Make sure you're pressing it down as you go around and move gently to slowly fill that space. Your fingers will get dirty. You'll be okay. It's not going to hurt you. If your yarn goes outside of the design, you can either cut and keep going on just those spots, or you can just adjust your design to go a little bit further or a little bit less. So I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do a triangle shape. I'm going to go ahead and take my glue. Again, this is a tacky type glue. You don't have to use this kind. Regular PVA Elmer's glue will work just fine. When you're done with your glue, make sure you're putting the cap back on or closing the lid. Make sure you fill all the way to the corners because this one's going to be a little bit more tricky because unlike the circle, with the circle you started in the center to get it nice and round. For this one, you want to start on the outside. So again, I'm going to go ahead and get a section of string. I'm going to go with about just a little bit more because the triangle's a little bit bigger. Go ahead and cut it. And I'm going to start on the outside edge for this shape because it's an angular shape and I want it to be a nice angle. Start on the outside edge. Notice there's not a whole lot of straight edges with this. You're going to have to round off your edges. That's just how yarn works. Start by filling in the outside and work your way towards the middle. You're going to want to keep going until your shape is filled. I'm going to go ahead and stop right there so I can give some instructions to those that are at home. Now, you're going to keep doing this for all of your shapes. I just wanted to go ahead and show you circles and triangles. You can do this for these as well. Now, just to make it a little bit easier on yourself, I want to go ahead and point out for some of these shapes, like for example, if you're doing petals on flowers, I would recommend finding yourself one of the corrugated yarns. Those are yarns that have multiple colors. That means that instead of having to cut different threads, you can just get the single one and it'll transition for you. So keep that in mind because that is available to you. Now, for those of you that are at home, I'm going to want you to go ahead and fill in the space using what materials you have available for coloring. Now, you can use anything basically that applies color as long as you have multiple colors to work with. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up these crayons because we're going to use one crayon out of this box. And that is this really pretty bright green. Nah, instead of the green, I think I'm going to go with a red. Yeah, red will work. So the first thing I'm going to do in order to do these, I'm going to go ahead and outline all of the lines with the darkest color. And you don't have to use different kinds, you can just use different colors. So, because I mean, there's lots of colors in a crayon box. I'm just using different materials so you can see how they can work together if that's what you have to work with. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and add a different type of marker. This one is a Prismacolor. Orange. And then yellow. The point is for me to be able to see the differences between your different color tones. So a gap like this one right here, you'd have to fill it in a little bit. Follow the same pattern as much as possible, but I want to be able to distinguish between here, 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 and here. Now for the center, let's say for example you only have a couple colors. Let's say you're just using the crayon box. Okay, for a center you could go with yellow, peach, green, for example. Okay, so you could start with the green, then go to yellow, and then go to peach. The point is to see that transition from one color to the next as you fill in the spaces. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me, but this project is going to take you time. It's not going to happen quickly. You're going to it's going to take you a while to fill in the entire space because I don't want to see any white space. I want the entire project to be filled in like this one. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. If you have any difficulties, again, ask me. Remember that all your shapes are going to have rounded edges just because that's how yarn works. You can always just round them off when you get there, or you can add smaller bits at the very ends if you really want those sharp edges. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.